My name is Joe White. I live in Sanford, North Carolina now, but I'm originally from Northern California. I run this truck all over the U.S. I moved out here. I retired it in 2000 and, and moved out here. I've had it for 54 years. I bought it in 1970. I was 19 years old.
And the truck was 10 years old,
And the
right?
truck was 10 years old and had 1,000,000 miles on it when I bought it. And I drove it for another 30 years. And in that 30 years, I put another 3 million miles on it.
Wow.
So right now, I quit counting the miles at 4 million. So
Did you buy it from the original owner?
I know I'm the second owner, but the original owner traded it in for a new one at the truck dealer. And then I bought it. And I never met that man, but I talked to people that knew him, and they told me what he did. He hauled up and down the West Coast, Canada to Mexico for 10 years, and then he needed a new truck, and I bought it, and I've had it ever since.
What's the engine, transmission, all that good stuff?
It's got a big Camp 2 400 in it, and over the years, I've replaced the engine 3 times. I'd get about a little over 1,000,000 miles on them, and then they were pretty much wore out, so I'd get another engine, but I put the same type of engine back in it.
What about the transmission?
I've replaced the transmissions a couple of times, the rear end several times. Everything on it has been repaired or replaced, but I pretty much put the same thing back in.
So what is the transmission currently?
It's a 6-speed main box and a 4-speed auxiliary box.
And that's what it's been?
That's what it come out of the factory with. Over the years, many times I wanted to get rid of it and get a 13-speed, but I just never did it. Especially when I checked the price. 13-speed, I used 13 speeds around $1,500 to $2,000, and I could fix that Brownie for $100. So,
what did you haul?
I pulled a flatbed. I hauled a lot of lumber, a lot of steel, machinery, structural steel. In the 30 years I had it, I pulled just a flatbed. In California, sometimes I'd haul pears. I've hauled peaches. A lot of pipe. I worked for Mercer for 12 years, and we hauled a lot of pipe.
Are these your licenses?
Yeah, not all of them, but yeah, when I started coming to the show, I thought that might be a good showpiece. And I even found my old draft card. Yeah, that's me growing up, growing old.
Growing different mustaches.
Yeah. I used to have red hair when I was younger. That's changed too. And as things wore out, I would dress it up a little bit of vinyl here and there, and because everything's wore out a dozen times.
That's a pretty sweet ceiling.
Yeah, originally it had a paper liner, and it just fell down around my head.
And the curtains?
Everything's homemade.
Everything's, yeah.
Those are curtains out of the house, and that doghouse cover was a rug in my hallway. The seat cover there, that was my daughter's patio rug. So it has never been restored.
It's just been maintained.
It's just a survivor. It's just been maintained for 64 years. It's never been restored, except for the diamond tuck on there. That's just the way it come out of the factory. And the steering wheel has been replaced because I wore the old steering wheel out.
That's a big steering wheel.
This don't have power steering, so the steering wheel on it is 22 inches wide. The trucks with power steering, they don't need that big a steering wheel, and they put a smaller steering wheel on them.
So was this the only truck in your career?
I actually bought one a year before this, and I drove it. I was only 18. I drove it for a year, and I wrecked it. And I turned around and bought this one, and I went to sleep and run off the road, and it taught me a lesson. I ain't doing that no more. So, and then I bought this one when I was 19, and then I drove it for 30 years, and I just held on to it. My kids over there, they was raised in this truck, and they're 50 years old now, and they was raised in it. And here's some pictures of a few things that I've hauled.
What is this?
That's just a toolbox.
That's cool.
There's the original bill sheet. I have to have this out here because people tell me this truck didn't come out of the factory this long, and I have to prove to them that it did.
What is the wheelbase?
260. And those are trucks that my dad had owned over the years. I was raised in these trucks. I learned to drive in these trucks.
For anyone who's watching this right now, all that background sound is
Yeah.
people leaving the truck show.
Where we're at.
Very creatively. So your father was also a trucker?
Yeah, he started in the early 50s with old World War II Army trucks. And then we worked together for a long time.
See, he's been trucking for a very long time.
Ages. I've been hauling for ages. That's when I bought it there. I was 19 there, and this picture was taken 40-something years later.
So it's been repainted a couple times, once?
Yeah. And this one here was in 73 in Mount Shasta, and this picture was taken 40 years later, the same place. Same truck, same driver.
What about the trailer here?
That's a 1970 utility. I had a trailer that I pulled for many years, but I sold it when I retired the truck. And then after we started going to shows, I needed a trailer, to make it look like a unit again. So, but that trailer's it's 54 years old.
Similar to something you would have used?
Exactly. And I wanted something that looked old, that was old, so I could take it to the shows. When I did work my truck, I had to carry V-boards and tire chains, and so I just put them back on there to make it look like it did when I was driving it.
Looking at tire chains, any memorable stories?
If anybody run out west with tire chains, I can't tell them nothing. they know what I went through. It's rough, but I mean, that's what I got paid to do. That's what truckers were supposed to do.